Boris, can I give you this award for all your hard work?
In showbiz.
How do you find time for hobbies like running the capital?
Thank you very much.
So, Misty, what kind of music do you like?
I don't like music.
Why do you have an iPod then?
To shut out the world.
Otfried, what other English TV do you like? I like Ricky Gervais, and I like the other comedian. He plays a character, a very funny character of the fat politician, and he has funny blonde hair. He walks, sometimes cycles. I see him on a bike on the television. Do you mean Boris Johnson? Yes, Boris Johnson. Yes, it's so funny. You like him also? No, Otfried. He's the mayor of London. Yes, he plays the mayor of London, a very stupid politician. Very stupid and funny. Look, Otfried. We Germany, we in Germany love him.
I'm feeling a little nauseous. Can we watch something that isn't a cookery show?
Roll the pastry up. Herbs, chives, and lots of seeds. Gilbert chili, oodles and oodles. Look at that. Aside a bit up and lots of pepper on top.
Hang on, we'll get one in a sec.
Be bad.
So to further endear themselves to the electorate, a number of MPs have been found to have done what?
Oh, they have tried to claim speeding fines on expenses, haven't they?
And parking tickets.
Yeah.
It's 4 of them, and a government minister.
Presumably these people went for the points and went for the fines because they didn't want to do speed awareness courses, didn't they? Because presumably they were available. And I heard last week's show, and you have been on a speed awareness course, have you not?
Indeed.
As have I, but I was going even slower than you. I was going 22 in a 20.
I was doing 24, Speedy Gonzales.
Interestingly, in the speed awareness course, literally no one recognised me at all.
They said it was humiliating.
Mainly because I was disguised as Suella Braverman.
He's only handing over his WhatsApp messages from 2021, from when he changed phones. So, yes.
Is that right?
So a lot of the messages we're not going to see, and the original phone he had, he was on a boat with Rebecca Vardy.
Ruth, it makes me think about WhatsApp messages between politicians. So are you in a WhatsApp group with Boris Johnson?
I'm not in a WhatsApp group with Boris Johnson, but I do co-chair his Appreciation Society with Nadine Dorries.
So have you ever WhatsApped Boris?
Yes, but in his old phone. I don't think...
What has the Prime Minister had to say about this COVID inquiry going back and forth?
I feel quite sorry for Rishi, because he's in Moldova with Zelensky and the European leaders trying to do big boy politics. And once again, he's clearing up and being asked about Boris Johnson, and he's not getting to do the Prime Minister thing at all.
And you feel sorry for him?
Well, I do, because he's like this earnest and industrious little chinchilla that works really, really hard. And then there's just this big looming gorilla behind him that just takes up all of the space and all of the lights, and he just, he can't get on his wheel. It's a shame.
It thought it should have an inquiry into COVID and appointed Baroness Hallett, and she said, well, can I see all the evidence? And they said no.
But it's even more complicated than that, isn't it? Because she said, can I see all the evidence, please? And the government have said no, but Boris has sort of said, yes, I will hand over all my evidence. And he's handed it over to the government, but the government haven't released it. And the reason he has handed all his over is because he kind of wants Rishi to hand over all of his evidence and all his messages, presumably including loads during lockdown, which went, oh, that bastard next door's having a party again.
This is the news that the deadline for submitting requested information to the COVID inquiry has passed, and the whole government and Boris Johnson have been arrested. So sorry, hang on. There's an alternative ending. Nothing's happened.
But also, if you have an inquiry, it tends to be up to the person chairing the inquiry what's relevant. If you say to someone who's committed a crime, is there anything relevant? They go, oh, no. Oh, no, you don't want to see any of that. You don't believe them. So if the government sets up an inquiry, it's presumably got to give over all the stuff. I think by the time this goes out, they'll have backed down. I don't think the government's going to... Are they, Baroness? They're not going to spend the run-up to the next election fighting their own inquiry.
Depending on when this airs, we'll have found out that they've gone to a judicial review.
It'll certainly be sorted out by the time this is on Dave.
Boris, fantastic. I just wanted to give you your book, Boris Johnson, Pathological Liar. Everybody loves it. Are you lying right now? Absolutely fantastic. I can never tell if you're doing it or not. You're like the Donald Trump of lying. You know, you've got much better hair, though. Amazing work. Like a pathological liar. I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. Boris, can we talk about it just quickly? I mean, did you write it? You didn't write it. You did write it, right? He's one of my friends. I was in the buller with him. Boris! Absolutely fantastic, loved it. Brilliant work there from Boris. Absolutely amazing.
He's been charged with lying, hasn't he?
Yes.
With falsifying, with the big bus with the figure outside that was something like £320 billion a week going through Europe or something like that. So
We'll have to be careful, they'll cut this out, and I don't want anyone to spoil the fun of thinking Boris is going to go to jail for life. Which, So, at the moment, we're just at the preliminary hearing stage.
Oh, right, OK.
About whether, when he was a public official, he was telling lies and therefore abusing his office. It should be an interesting trial. I mean, very similar to putting the Pope on trial and saying, are you a Catholic? He was sacked from then sacked from sacked by his own reprimanded.
Ian,
Yes.
we're not allowed to say anything that might prejudice the case.
Well, that's absolutely fair enough, because I would like him to have a fair trial with a desirable result of him being imprisoned forever.
Without wishing to prejudice the outcome of the case.
No, because we mustn't do that. I'm not saying he's guilty.
Would you like to see Boris Johnson?
Let's deal with your arguments. One of them is on the side of this bus. We sent 350 million to Europe. We don't, and you know we don't. No, we don't. You know we don't. Admit that that figure is grotesquely misleading at best.
I won't.
The true figure is 161 million, correct?
No, the true figure is 350 million.
In net terms, the real figure is 161.
If you take out the abatement and the money that comes back, the UK money that comes back via Brussels, the figure is obviously lower.
Matt Lucas is so good.
I will say I don't need to be at the spotlight because I've got Boris Johnson's dad on my team, so, you know, we've got the world's expert, I would have thought. Imagine Boris as a teenager.
I do imagine Boris as a teenager. I remember it so tremendously well. Of course, it wasn't just Boris as a teenager. I had quite a few teenagers, as I recall. There was Boris, there was Rachel, there was Leah, there was Joe, there was
the other one?
A couple other ones. Julia and Max. Yes, I've gone through a lot of...
What have the other ones done?
Well, I won't go into it now. It would take too long.
Have they taken us out of Europe?
I think that was an accident.
Oh, right. Well, that's good to know.
Do you mean, sir, that Boris was an accident or his taking the EU?
Now, Catherine...
Because I like to tell my daughter that she was a surprise.
Tonight we whiff-waff goodbye to Boris Johnson and look back at his life and career as a father, husband, journalist, mayor of London, husband, foreign secretary, father, prime minister, father, husband and father. What will you all miss most of all about Boris, the Prime Minister? Ian?
I suppose I'll really miss being able to say this will end badly. Because it did.
It did, yeah.
And I suppose I'll miss his use of language. Tonight, I'm wearing a tie with balloons on it, but it's not a party. This is a work event for me.
Janet?
You say, what are we going to miss about him? But how do we know he's not going to be back?
I think you know something we might not know, Janet. Maybe we'll find out later.
I just look at the opinion polls,
Yeah.
and 43% of the Tory members at the moment would rather have Boris back than either of the other two.
Yeah, but that's because Matron's just gone round with coffee. Trying to wake him up a bit. Who do you want to be Prime Minister, dear? It's nice, Mr. Disraeli.
This show, by the way, has been billed by the BBC as a tribute.
Tribute? Funny way to spell good riddance.
Hello, my name is Paparese Edu, and I was the first black actor to play Hamlet at the Royal Shakespeare Company up in Stratford-upon-Avon. But when I'm not doing that, I play one of the country's most loved characters. As a young actor, you're always on the lookout for that breakthrough role. So I play Boris in the classical clown tradition, this affable, bumbling, kind of cuddly bear type figure. They would just say and do the stupidest things, kind of like a 5-year-old in a grown man's body. Oh yeah, I do all my own stunts. I'm so lucky I've got a great team around me. There's so much planning that goes into these things, right down to the tightness of my harness around my bottom to give me the perfect wedgie. It took a while to find the voice of Boris, if I'm honest.
And it was called Whiff Waff.
You've got to kind of combine this strange rumble.
Behold this brick.
With saying the stupidest sentences imaginable.
Being blinded by a champagne cork or being reincarnated as an olive or locked in a disused fridge.
The jeopardy of a stunt is sometimes as, if not more important than the humour of it. There was some particularly troubling unemployment statistics in the press, and we needed something that was funny but at the same time shocking to distract away from it. And it was an ad-lib, actually. I remember I was stumbling and trying to run in this suit was quite difficult. And I saw this kid in front of me, and I thought, just go with it. I mean, sometimes as an actor, it's really important to just follow your instincts. We've got a lot of stuff planned for my stint as Foreign Secretary, so we're deep in rehearsals for that.
Those are our pledges, and those are our P's and our pledges.
It's going to be absolutely hilarious, so stay tuned.
What lie did Boris Johnson tell Robert Peston?
Was this the 350 million again?
Linked?
On the NHS?
Linked.
Yeah. Did he say it would be reconsidered?
Yeah. He said it was in the manifesto.
Yeah.
Did she say it at the manifesto launch?
No. Not only did he lie, but he actually cheated as well, because he looked at Peston's notes in the hope of finding out what the question was going to be, and he was caught.
I didn't know what cheating you were referring to there.
You've suddenly adopted the character of a northern housewife. Oh! Have you heard about... Well, no surprise to me. He was rinsing out his own gloves last Saturday.
We haven't talked about Labour very much, so to head off any accusations of bias...
Are you leaving now to be replaced? The next round will be hosted by Michael Portillo. Come on, we can have a train round.
When it comes to Labour's manifesto promises, how did Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry muddy the waters?
Was this Trident?
Yep.
She said there'd be a review, and the review might include scrapping it. Was that the problem?
And do you know who contradicted her and said it was Labour's policy to keep Trident?
Shadow Defence?
The Shadow Defence Secretary, that's right. This was Nia Griffiths, the Shadow Defence Secretary. Emily is not the Shadow Defence Secretary, I am.
You're doing it again! I don't know who that man was. She was in the pub on Saturday, but it wasn't her husband, I'll tell you that much. I know full well he's got a job in Peterborough.
How did David Cameron vote on the high-speed rail bill's second reading?
Well, he's all for it, isn't he?
He didn't turn up.
Oh, he didn't turn up?
No.
He didn't actually turn up.
He was on a train, it was late.
Well...
He didn't bother, even though he lives just across the road. Apparently he was having a date night, and Nick was really looking forward to it, so he... Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, is a supporter of the high-speed rail link, but how did he sensitively answer those voicing environmental concerns?
He said it's absolute bollocks. All these environmentalists, they don't care about butterflies and trees. All they care about is their house prices. Do you know what? If Boris Johnson was like a woman or a poor person, they wouldn't get away with the things that he says. But because he was, like, well-educated and posh, I think people think...
Is there a problem coming here?
No, but I think... No, but But we wouldn't get away with it. The thing, but people assume that his stupidity is deliberate because he's been so well educated. He basically said that trees were stupid and that they didn't need to be saved because there are no trees in this country older than 200 years old.
Why is he so anti-tree?
He hates trees. They all hate grit. They all think the environment is like for pussies, don't they, and girls and stuff. No, they do. It's all money.
Who's
They
they?
make me sick. Oh, you lot.
Yeah.
It's the next episode of the demise of Theresa May, who's gone from being the Iron Lady to sort of flatter version, like the Ironed Lady, instead.
So nothing is happening. There was a big coup. We thought we were going to get, a new Prime Minister, but no.
It's a bit like a very dull, slow Attenborough, isn't it? Where the same wounded wildebeest just keeps limping across the plain, and the hyenas can't quite get organised enough to kill her off. Basically what it is now.
Yes, it's about the week of plotting and infighting in the Tory party. There was speculation this week that Theresa might demote Boris Johnson in a reshuffle. Why might that not work?
He said he won't be demoted.
That's absolutely right. According to the Telegraph, allies of Boris warned that if May tried to demote him, he would just say no. We learnt more about the principal stance Boris Johnson took when he decided to back Brexit last year. What was that?
Well, he confessed to someone that he changed his mind and became a leaver just to annoy Cameron.
Yeah.
Sorry. He confessed it in an interview.
Yes, well, according to the Mail, so... Do you call that an interview?
Can we edit that bit out so people believe it?
Yeah. Well, according to a reputable paper...
Can we edit that bit out as well? It was to Lord Adonis.
Lord Adonis.
Can you imagine being called Lord Adonis?
Hey.
It's quite a lot to live up to in the morning.
Lord Adonis. That's my safe word. I'm only joking. You're never safe with me.
Let's get on with the show, and we start with the biggest stories of the week. Ian and Henning take a look at this.
That's Matt Hancock literally in hot water, trying to wash his hands of it. That's an emergency flight from Turkey, possibly bringing equipment to there. They're just testing.
Yeah, there is the doc from earlier.
This is the growing criticism of the government's handling of the coronavirus crisis. It looks like the Prime Minister Boris Johnson's still convalescing, unable to attend important meetings. So no change there then, Ian.
No, I mean, that was the shock news at the weekend, that he'd missed 5 of these important Cobra meetings and had been too concerned with, Brexit and reshuffling the cabinet and his impending marriage. I mean, he did have a lot on in February, and so there wasn't really time to organise the country in the face of this pandemic. So, yeah, that hasn't gone so well.
No, I think no one can complain because, he didn't get voted in because of his diligence. So no one can be that surprised. You can say, the Premiership so far has been unmitigated disaster. What did people expect?
So you're blaming the public, Henning. That's always makes you popular.
Although there was one crucial decision he was involved in back in March, which was to keep Britain out of talks with the EU to bulk buy protective gear at the beginning of the crisis. That's according to the most senior Foreign Office civil servant, Sir Simon MacDonald, who told us Commons Select Committee this was not a communication error, it was a political decision. Although later he admitted that he'd made the claim inadvertently and wrongly. So a communication error of his very own. What is going on, Emma? What's happening?
Well, it's quite an odd thing that after something goes out like that, you can make the claim inadvertently. Were you actually wrong? I don't know. It now just looks quite odd that he said with full confidence to a select committee one thing, and then afterwards it wasn't the case. But the thing that they've been very lucky about with that particular situation is no one who signed up to it on time has yet to receive a containment. So what they can now say is, well, look, it didn't make any difference anyway.
Do you not think that everybody's been just looking at old episodes of Yes Minister, in which in the first 5 minutes the civil servant says something that's clearly true, and then the minister tells him that it isn't true after all, and then he remembers that it isn't true at all? And I love the idea that it's, was this a political decision? We could ask him now. Was the fact that you said the opposite straight afterwards, was that a political decision? Michael Gove's performance was fantastic because he's essentially being asked, is the Prime Minister trustworthy? And Gove has spent the last couple of years telling us he isn't. That's why he ran against him. So he had to sit there and say, I can't imagine why any of this would be believed. Well, we can.
Health Secretary Matt Hancock has also been criticised for failing to provide essential equipment for NHS staff. He responded by saying, I would love to be able to wave a magic wand and have PPE fall from the sky in large quantities. Well, if they haven't locked the doors properly on that flight from Turkey, you may be in luck.
There was a thought, though, that ministers in a report this week in the Telegraph were hanging Matt Hancock out to dry, obviously unnamed ministers.
Yes, there was a big promise about testing, and we were going to have 100,000 tests a day. But so far, we haven't done that. We've been something like 18,000. Is that right, Emma?
But in the first PMQs, Dominic Raab committed to meeting that target. So, you know, it's only a few days' time. We'll find out.
Thoughts inevitably are now turning towards unlocking the lockdown. The Mail reported that the government are considering a traffic light system. Any idea how that might work, Paul?
Yes, red followed by yellow followed by green. And then repeat the process.
Yeah, and the idea is you sort of gradually ease the country back into go mode. So in the red phase, basically, shops will be allowed to open at first, and hairdressers, thank God, Ian, eh? Then... in the next amber phase, the schools might open. They're talking about May the 25th as a provisional opening date for those. And then finally, the green phase is when the pubs will open. Here it is, as the Sun's report. Pubs shut till Christmas. Oh, don't worry if you were worried about keeping up with the death toll. They've got that covered as well.